The movie begins with the wedding of Mitch and Julianne in a church. After the ceremony is completed, Mitch steps up in front of the guests to give a speech. He thanks Kate, the bride's mother, and her husband Charlie for organizing such a wonderful celebration, and he also thanks his wife, telling her she will be the best partner he could ever have. He then adds that his father was too busy to attend the wedding. After the ceremony ends, Mitch and Julianne leave the church and get into their car. Julianne says goodbye to her mother, telling her they'll return in 2 weeks to celebrate her birthday, and then they drive off to begin their honeymoon. Their destination is an island known only to Mitch and his father, as they had discovered it by accident during a fishing trip years ago. Since then, it has become Mitch's favorite place. When they arrive, Julianne is amazed. The cabin is on a small, completely isolated island surrounded by the sea, with no houses or people nearby. She asks Mitch about the phone signal, and he tells her it's very weak. There's no internet and no TV either, but he assures her it's better that way so they can spend time together in peace and quiet. Mitch then goes out to prepare the small boat they'll use to cross to the inner part of the island. He puts their luggage inside and reassures Julianne that as long as she's with him, she'll have everything she needs, and the most important thing is that they'll be happy together. When they reach the cabin, Julianne takes out her phone and tries to call her mother again, but there's no signal at all. They enter the cabin, and as Julianne looks around, she notices strange symbols drawn on the walls. When she asks Mitch about them, he says they're probably just markings left by some fishermen who passed through before. Later, Julianne starts organizing the place and arranging their things before going to sleep after a long, tiring day. The next morning, Julianne wakes up to see Mitch opening a small box. He places a key inside, locks it, and then hangs the key around his neck. She doesn't understand what he's doing, and soon after, he goes out to repair the cabin roof. Julianne cleans up the place, then draws something on the wall herself, wanting to leave a mark showing that they were there. That evening, they sit by the sea, and Julianne asks Mitch to tell her a story. He talks about what makes a happy family, saying that every happy family should have children. Julianne replies that she doesn't think it's the right time to have kids yet, she's still young and studying, and they should wait until she finishes her education. Mitch agrees, and they go to bed afterward. The next morning, Julianne wakes up before Mitch and goes down to the shore. She dips her feet in the water but quickly pulls back in fear and returns to the cabin. She wakes Mitch up, then goes outside with her art supplies to draw. After a while, Mitch comes out, gets into the water, and invites her to join him. She hesitates, saying the water is cold and she'll come later, but he lifts her and carries her in by force. He places her on a floating raft in the middle of the sea, sits with her for a bit, then goes back to the shore to smoke and fetch something from the cabin. While he's gone, the raft suddenly starts deflating, and Julianne begins to sink. She screams for help, and Mitch rushes back just in time to save her. As she calms down, she tells him she suffers from thalassophobia, a fear of the sea, and that she's terrified of swimming. He scolds her for not telling him earlier. She explains that she wanted to overcome her fear with him and had tried to be brave. They end their day and go to sleep. The following day, Mitch goes fishing, and Julianne joins him to learn how. During their conversation, she mentions that she found a strange box inside the cabin. Mitch explains that it's for safety, since they're on an isolated island, and that it only contains his car key. He adds that just as he doesn't interfere in every detail of her life, she shouldn't interfere in his private matters, and they should both have their own freedom. Julianne feels upset and walks back to the cabin, where she begins hanging her paintings on the walls to change the atmosphere. Mitch follows her, apologizing for his tone and trying to make peace. He invites her to join him on a hunting trip in the forest, and she agrees. They take the boat to the mainland, enter the woods, and Mitch sets up some traps. Suddenly, Julianne disappears. He panics and searches for her until he finds her picking flowers near a small grave. He quickly pulls her away, angry that she wandered off alone, warning her it's dangerous and she should stay close so he can protect her. They return to the cabin, and Julianne spends her time painting again. Later, she tells Mitch they've already spent 10 days on the island and that she's tired of the place. She wants to go home because she misses her mother. Mitch becomes angry, saying the vacation isn't over yet. They agreed to stay 2 weeks, and insists that she must obey him and stay wherever he is. Julianne, furious, goes inside the cabin and tries to open the locked box, but it won't budge. She throws it to the floor, breaking some objects around her. Mitch comes in and apologizes, saying it won't happen again and that he only acts that way because he's afraid of losing her and can't live without her. The next day, Julianne wakes up and looks for her birth control pills, but they're gone. She goes outside and asks Mitch about them, but he says he knows nothing and doesn't understand what she's talking about. She tells him she wants to leave as soon as possible. Mitch replies that he doesn't mind leaving, but she must accept having a child so they can start a happy family. Julianne reminds him that they agreed to wait and that now isn't the right time. She suggests traveling again to get more pills, but Mitch accuses her of listening to her mother instead of respecting him. He warns her not to bring up the topic of leaving again. This is her final warning. Later, Mitch goes out hunting in the forest, leaving Julianne alone in the cabin. She goes down to the beach and tries to swim, but her fear overwhelms her, and she returns. Meanwhile, Mitch comes back and starts preparing the fish he caught. Julianne sits quietly by the shore, lost in thought, trying to figure out how she can escape from this situation. The next morning, Mitch wakes up and finds that Julianne is not beside him. He quickly gets up and rushes outside to look for her, only to see her sitting in the boat out in the middle of the sea, trying to fish. Meanwhile, Mitch goes back into the cabin, takes Julianne's drawings off the wall, and puts them inside his box. But he's startled when Julianne suddenly walks in, causing him to drop the box. She kneels down to help him pick up the papers, and while doing so, she notices a napkin from a cafe she used to visit when she met her ex-boyfriend. She tells him that the day they met at the bus station near that cafe wasn't a coincidence. He had been watching her and knew everything about her. Mitch admits that it's true, he had followed her because he liked her and wanted to get close to her, and that everything that happened between them was part of his plan. Julianne stands there in shock. Mitch then leaves the cabin, walking away. Julianne follows him outside, trying to speak calmly and convince him that the 2 weeks are over, that enough has happened, and that they should return home to rest and get a change of scenery. But Mitch gets angry, accusing her of wanting to go back to her friends and parties, saying she's irresponsible. He shoves her violently. Furious, Julianne grabs a bottle and hits him over the head. He falls to the ground but isn't seriously hurt. Julianne takes the opportunity to jump into the boat and row to the other side of the island. When she reaches the car, she finds it locked. She runs into the forest, takes out her phone, and finds that it finally has signal. She calls her mother, but before the call goes through, the phone dies, the battery is dead. She throws it against a tree in frustration and keeps walking aimlessly until she stops to rest. Meanwhile, Mitch, who is a strong swimmer, has already reached the forest and begins searching for her. He eventually finds her phone. As Julianne sits, she notices the same grave again, which terrifies her, so she keeps walking, but then she hears Mitch calling her name. She hides behind a tree, but he eventually finds her. Julianne approaches him, pretending to be calm, and says she's sorry, she was just scared, and hugs him. They return together to the cabin. She's only doing this to calm him down and buy herself some time to think. When they get back, Julianne goes to sleep, and Mitch goes outside to sink the boat in the sea, cutting off her last hope of escape. Then he goes back inside and sleeps beside her. The next morning, Julianne goes out to the shore and notices the boat is gone. When she asks Mitch about it, he tells her it probably broke apart and sank. But she doesn't believe him, she knows he did it intentionally to keep her trapped. Mitch then starts playing his guitar while Julianne sits by the sea drawing. Suddenly, she spots a floating buoy in the water. Seizing the opportunity, she quickly tries to reel it in before Mitch notices, but he realizes she's missing and comes looking for her. She quickly hides the buoy and pretends she's just fishing normally. Later, Mitch tells her he's going out for a while and grabs the car key, but in reality, he goes to visit the grave in the forest. When he returns, he lies down to sleep. Julianne quietly takes the key from around his neck, opens the box, and discovers documents, the property deed for the cabin. She realizes the cabin belongs to Mitch, and that he lied to her. He had prepared this entire place to be their permanent home. Julianne grabs the car key and the buoy she had hidden, crosses to the other side of the island, and tries to start the car, but it won't turn on. She keeps trying until suddenly, Mitch appears right in front of her. Terrified, she picks up a shotgun and threatens him, demanding that he start the car or she'll shoot him. Instead, he smashes the car window and drags her back to the cabin by force, chaining her leg with a long metal chain to stop her from escaping again. He tells her he's not crazy, he's only doing this to protect her. He reminds her how she always said she wanted to meet his father, then reveals that his father is buried in the forest, the grave she saw, because he died in a hunting accident. Mitch buried him there to keep him close. He says his father always pressured him to get married and start a family, and that this pressure drove him to do what he did. He then throws all of Julianne's belongings into the sea and burns her art supplies. The next day, Julianne prepares food for him, even though she's still chained. While eating, Mitch asks her to pass him the matchbox to light his cigarette. Julianne tells him that today is her mother's birthday, and she was supposed to be there celebrating. She asks if he knew that she can't swim and is terrified of water. He says yes, he knew. That's when she realizes he chose this island on purpose, knowing she wouldn't be able to escape. She tells him his whole life is built on lies. He replies that his love for her is the only real thing in his life, then walks out, leaving her crying in despair. That night, as it rains, Julianne goes outside to talk to Mitch. She tells him he doesn't love her, he's sick. Because if you love someone, you don't torture them, you let them live freely. Mitch insists that no one could ever love her like he does and that everything he's doing is for her own good. She leaves him outside and goes back into the cabin. There, she gets an idea. She lights a match on purpose and calls out to Mitch, pretending the matchbox caught fire by accident. Mitch gets angry, saying there are no matches left and he'll have to go to town to buy more. He takes the key and leaves. Once he's gone, Julianne retrieves the axe Mitch had thrown into the sea earlier, it was still within reach, and uses it to break the chain on her leg. After several tries, she manages to snap it in half. She then spots the old, torn buoy she had lost before, repairs it quickly, and uses it to cross the sea to the other side. There, she digs a trap in the ground, covers it with dirt, and hurries back to the cabin. Soon after, Mitch returns carrying a lighter and the shotgun he planned to use for hunting. When he enters, he notices the chair where Julianne had been sitting is wet. He realizes she went into the sea. He confronts her and slaps her across the face. A violent fight breaks out between them. During the struggle, he spots the hidden buoy and slashes it with his knife before continuing to attack her. She falls to the ground, crawling backward, luring him toward the spot where she set the trap. Mitch steps into it, and his leg gets caught. He screams in pain. Julianne grabs a wooden plank and hits him over the head, knocking him down. She quickly grabs the key hanging from his neck, runs inside the cabin, and takes the shotgun. Mitch pulls her back with the remaining length of chain attached to her leg. She struggles, grabs the gun, and fires, hitting him in the shoulder. She then unlocks the chain, drops the gun next to him, and says he can either stay here alone or end his own life. Julianne heads to the sea, conquers her fear, and swims across to the other side. As she reaches land, she hears a gunshot in the distance. She realizes Mitch has killed himself. She keeps walking until she finds the car. She takes off her wedding ring, places it on the windshield, and walks away, finally free, returning to her normal life and her family. And that's how today's movie ends.